Coach Adelai Brown on your community station with international inspiration, kinetichifi.com. Yes, yes, it's Work It Out Wednesday. Were you guys working it out? Were you dancing? If you want it, if you can. Okay, all right, I'll calm down. But we were just playing some old school, a little bit of new school, but just good music to dance to and have fun. I think we just take life too seriously. And I think that's a distraction. And we have to get to a space where we want to enjoy life and we want to really enjoy ourselves. I want to talk a little bit about wisdom and working it out. I want to talk about wisdom and working it out. And I want to talk about that because many of us, we have knowledge, but we don't have wisdom. We have information. We have acquired information. That's what knowledge is. But many of us miss out when it comes to wisdom, being having this applied knowledge that helps benefit your life. And I want to encourage you because we live in a world that does not value wisdom. We live in a culture outside of many other cultures, but we live in a culture that does not value the elderly the way it should, does not value the experience and knowledge and good judgment that people have gained over time. It's all about who's the fastest, who's the loudest, who's the strongest, who's the biggest, who's the boldest, whatever. But a lot of times we miss out on the power of wisdom. To be wise is defined as having or showing experience, knowledge, and good judgment. It's not enough to just have knowledge, but it's knowing how to apply that knowledge well. It's knowing how to act accordingly. When we think about wisdom and we think about distractions, we have to understand that wisdom can look at distractions and see them as opportunities. Wisdom can look at distractions for what they are and not what they're presented to be. And that's what I was talking about in the last hour when I was saying, well, what should you be focusing on? We talked about some things that you should be focusing on, but now we're talking about your ability to do that. That was one of the questions that was asked by one of our Facebook Live viewers. She said, "Well, how were you able to, resolve that? How are you able to overcome distractions?" And that overcoming those distractions comes from praying and seeking God for wisdom. Experience is not always the best teacher because we don't always learn from our experiences. And I was taught that and I believed that until I realized that I kept going through the same experiences over and over and over again. And obviously this was not a good teacher because if it was a good teacher, maybe I wouldn't keep going through these things. That's when I realized that it went a lot deeper than the experience. It was about how I viewed the experience, what I thought about the experience, the information that I had gathered about the experience. So my wisdom or my knowledge of the experience is what's going to affect what I learn from it, how I learn from it, how I change as a result of it. So I'm going through, whatever I'm going through, and I'll use an example of my first serious relationship that I was in. When I think about wisdom and distractions, I think about that particular relationship because being in that relationship at that point, it had taken its, it had run its course and it was done. That relationship was over. But my experiences in that situation with him had always been, my experiences had always been, well, you know, I love him. He said he's sorry. We'll try this over again. But when wisdom started to kick in, when I had the experience, I had the knowledge of what had been done, what we had gone through. Now it's time for me to exercise good judgment. Now it's time for me to become, I'm aware and I'm alert. Now it's time for me to act on this awareness and this alertness. I'm not just making a blind decision here. I can take into account everything that's going on. Now I can look at this relationship and say, yes, I do still love you, I don't even know if that's love, but I love myself enough to say, I'm going to have to move on. I'm going to have to bow down out of this thing. And I don't care how much you call me. I don't care how much you show up. I don't care how much you knock at the door. I don't care how much you show up at the spaces that I'm in. You have the friends that I have and you're around where I'm around. I don't care how much you do that. I'm going to exercise wisdom in this situation. You're distracting me. I know you say you can't live life without me. I know you need me, you think, to survive. Yes, you said you're going to kill yourself if I don't get back with you. I hear all of that. But all I see right now, these are distractions from me staying the course that I need to stay. These are distractions stopping me from doing what it is that I need to do. I love you, but I love myself enough to move on. And that's, I mean, this is where wisdom comes in. Listen, there were many nights that, what I think that we miss out on is when you have to step up and make a good decision or make a big decision, it doesn't mean it's always going to feel good. It doesn't mean that it's something that you're always going to want to do. But when you decide that you want your life to exemplify your dreams, if you want to live a life that mirrors the dreams that you are dreaming, you are going to have to choose to avoid your distractions. I mean, let's think about all of the people. I want to shout out everybody I know who's ever obtained a degree, especially people who went back and got their degrees after they started their families or even were building their families and they went back and got a degree. There were so many sacrifices that had to be made. I can't tell you, I think just about everybody I know who has went back to school, has had an experience when they had an exam or a test or a paper that they needed to submit, that they waited to the last minute to do it. And when it was time to do it, something went wrong and they weren't able to do it. At the beginning of the course, the teacher will always tell you, do not wait to the last minute. A lot of them will tell you, I will not give you a second chance if you wait till the last minute and something goes wrong and you can't. But we continue to do these things, but some people that will cause them to stop. Some people will cause them to stop, but some people will mess up on that test and say, you know what, the next time I'm just going to get it done a little earlier. I'm going to set myself up for success a little better this time. And that's using wisdom in your distractions. That's understanding that, yes, you may have a test today, and then your child might get sick and you need to go to the ER, but you know if you miss this test, you're going to fail a class. So you're going to have to ask somebody else to take your child to the ER, and you might feel like the worst parent, and somebody might tell you, you're a bad parent. You should be taking care of your child. But that was a distraction from you being able to get that degree, and you were able to use wisdom to get through this. Look, this is why I have the family and friends that I have. This is why I have these people in my life, so that if there's a time that I can't get my child to this spot, I can ask somebody else to stand in the gap for me. Wisdom is being vulnerable enough to ask for help. Wisdom is being open to the fact that distractions will come, but they are forcing you to pick what's important and what's not. And see, the thing is, what we don't want to acknowledge is we give too much importance to things that have no value. We just weigh too heavily people, habits, mindsets, ideas, clothes, shoes, just the idea, the thought of certain things, like we give these things too much value. And they're distractions. If you can't get your degree because you're too busy having to keep your shoe game together because you want to compete with all of the females you see on social media looking nice, that's a distraction. You have to focus on getting your degree, baby. You get that degree, you can buy all the shoes you want and you won't be faking it this time. But see, we live in a world where people tell you fake it till you make it, but then that ends up becoming a way of life for them. That's a distraction. Don't allow anybody to get you off track and get you off course from where you need to be. And when you are off course, when you are find yourself distracted, I encourage you to look at that situation through the lens of wisdom, through applied knowledge with experience and good judgment, asking God in, Lord, show me what to do, and calming yourself down enough to listen to what he's telling you to do, then you're going to start to see a lot of changes. You're going to start to experience a lot of a breakthrough in your life, but you're going to have to use wisdom Like, you're going to have to use wisdom. Like, you cannot think that you're just going to just figure this thing out on your own. I mean, I see so many people in pain on a daily basis because that's a gift that I have. God doesn't necessarily show me what's going on with people, but I can feel hurt. I can feel jealousy. I can feel envy. I can feel disappointment and doubt. And that for a long time, I thought something was wrong with me. I thought I was crazy. But as I started to seek God and get still and realize that those thoughts were distractions from me living on purpose. Because if I'm thinking I'm crazy, I'm not going to act properly on the things God has called me to do. Like, I would never be doing heart talk if I had stayed and paid attention to those distractions back then. I would have never written the next book. I would have never done any of these things or the things that are coming. Because I'm telling y'all, what I've done cannot compare to what's to come. And I'm saying that because I have an assurance in God. I have given him this of myself because I've given it to everybody else and they dropped it and they were supposed to because it wasn't for them to carry. This was all on me. I have to let God in. I have to let him move in my life. I'll never be perfect. And I'll also never, ever be able to live up to I'll never be able to live up to the standards of everybody else. But praise God, I can live up to the standards of Christ. And that is a blessing. That's what wisdom and distractions come in. So your distractions will come, but you use wisdom to decipher through them. Use wisdom to figure out what to do, how to do it, when to do it, with who to do it with, when not to do it. You think about it. This has been Heart Talk with your heart coach, Adelai Brown, on your community station with international inspiration, kinetichifi.com. Make sure you pre-order your hi-fi. All righty.